Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, we are back at it again with another first impressions video, another poll value video focusing on Mornye and our decision of whether or not she's actually going to be a must pull unit. And there have already been some opinions made on the topic. There have already been some videos that I've produced talking about how she works and how she performs relative to other characters, but there's been some new tech discovered actually that we'll be covering today that might actually influence the value that you've had when it comes to this unit. And so we'll be going through a bunch of different team compositions, of course, testing her out in her best teams, testing her out in her second best team, and then of course testing her out in teams where maybe she doesn't have as many synergies, and then walking us through how you're probably going to be able to expect her to perform. Because at the end of the day, right, she is a generalist support unit, but she does come with a couple of tricks. So let's go ahead and get right on into it. But before we begin, if you're looking to pick up Mornye or her weapon with some lunite and want to save some cash, LD Shop is the perfect way to do that, and I'll tell you why. LD Shop gives you access to huge discounts on virtually everything you can buy in tons of games. For now, let's focus on Wuwa. The monthly pass, which is usually $5, is much less on ldshop.gg, a great deal. To use this discount, simply select the item, click top up, and submit your payment. Then you'll select self top up. For a limited time, you'll get an additional discount when using this method. After viewing the instructions video, simply enter your Kuro login and password on the browser client. This might seem a bit off, but remember that LD Shop has excellent reviews on Trustpilot. You'll then log in and manually redeem your purchased items in the client. The system will then sign you out and erase your login information. Or you can provide your Kuro login information to LD Shop staff and they can complete your order for you. New users can get a 10% discount and an additional 5% using my sponsored link. First-time top-up bonuses are available as well, and spending $80 or more will get you a VIP membership, which can get you a free 30-day Lunite subscription. So try LD Shop today. All right. So the Mornye that you're going to be seeing on my screen, she's pretty much well built. And the reason why I'll say that she's well built is for a couple of reasons. She's going to meet all of her stat requirements when she's on field. This Mornye actually has 270% ER. She's just not active right now. And when it comes to these stat requirements, Mornye basically has a 260% ER goal that she wants to go for. Basically so that her ultimate can deal as much damage as possible. And B, when it comes to some of the buffs that she has in her kit that are tied to, unfortunately, other units, she can cause that damage bonus over there to actually scale. So that level of ER is typically what you want. There's really no other requirements in her kit, though. It's pretty much just ER and nothing else, because she doesn't deal that much damage anyways. When it comes to her skill build, and how I've invested across, like, her, all these different abilities, I have everything at level 1, except for her Forte Circuit and her Resonance Liberation. And the reason for that is because these abilities only, like, deal damage, and she doesn't build attacks, so she doesn't deal damage anyways. And you can see over here, these scale off of attack. For her Resonance skill, the only thing that scales with defense is the healing. And I'm really good at this game, and I don't die, so I don't need the healing. And so that's why I didn't even get, like, her healing nodes over here. I only got the stuff that increases the damage. So that's just how I invest in my supports. Naturally, if you're somebody that gets, like, smacked around a lot more, go get the healing stuff. But Mornye also already has, like, a bunch of built-in, like, defense, damage mitigation, death, survival. You can just read this inherent skill and you'll be like, oh yeah, it's pretty hard to die when this unit's on your team. Just pause the video and take a look at it. It's pretty obvious. Anyways, that's going to be how I invest in my Mornye. Once again, this is how I do it. And if you want to see my Shorekeeper for a comparison, I got this unit over a year ago. And she looks like this. So I put my money where my mouth is. I'm not like a liar over here. She's still not maxed out either. Like, her Resonance Liberation's like level 7 for some reason. So yeah, that's how I would recommend people to do it. And then, of course, invest more in defense if you do need it later on. When it comes to her weapon, we're going to be using an R5 Discord. And for the tech that we're going to be talking about later, you actually need an R4 Discord to be able to do it. So do keep that in mind. This character basically unlocks a new rotation and new potential and greater meta viability from having an R4 Discord. I'm not even joking. And in a way, it can be more effective than her weapon. And we'll talk about that in just a second. I don't actually have her signature weapon, though, so do keep that in mind that that's not going to be something that we're going to be playing around with. But if you're interested in the details of her signature weapon, basically think of it as an easier way to meet her stat requirements. It's going to boost her defense, by 16%, provide less concerto than a fully upgraded Discord, only 8 at R1, and then it's also going to increase the crit damage of everybody on the team. So it is going to typically result in higher damage, but you won't be able to access the faster rotations that a higher ranked Discord would be able to let you do. So there are actually some trade-offs for using your signature instead of a 4-star weapon. All right, last thing that we're going to cover is just like her Echo build. Yes, you're going to be using Halo of Starry Radiance on her. It's a perfect set because it scales with off-tune build-up rate and she increases it in her kit. Just try to have ER on every single piece. And do keep in mind, you can miss some ER rolls and still reach 260% because she gets 10% from here passively. And then she also gets 10% from here passively. So she has 20% for free just from existing. So you only really need, well, 140 from her echoes because she has 100% base. But yeah, that's going to be the Mornye's build, and that's what we're going to be working with over here. As you can see, we weren't particularly too picky about her echo substats. We got some decent ones. The last thing I'll mention is that I just run a crit damage on her forecast because, well, she's almost guaranteed to crit on her ultimate, and I don't need the healing. So I just did the thing that's going to increase the team's damage the most. Go with defense or go with healing bonus if you need the sustain. But that's going to be it when it comes to the specifics over there. Now it's time for us to do some TOA runs. And the unfortunate part about testing this unit is that she's naturally going to be Giga Shield, taking her to some floors. For example, if I were to go ahead and put her on this floor with a Lynae, you would see ridiculous results. So whenever I'm going to be testing a Lynae team that has access to Tune and Tune Break and Rupture and all of that, I'm not going to be doing it on this floor where the enemies take a massive amount of additional damage if Lynae is basically out there doing stuff. So we're going to go over here where there's no interaction with 2 mechanics against the Mech Abomination. All right, so the team comp that we're going to be showing up first is going to be Lynae's best one, or sorry, Lynae and Mornye's best one in the game. And the reason for this categorization on this team is very simple. Mornye has a specific buff in her kit that cannot be activated. Interfered marker. Mornye at S0 has a specific buff in her kit that cannot be activated if you don't have Lynae on your team, because they need to have Tune Rupture or Tune Strained on them to take this additional damage that scales off of her ER. Lynae is the only character in the game right now that is able to trigger this effect. If you don't have Lynae on your team, this whole mechanic never even triggers in the first place. So the end result, ladies and gentlemen, is that Lynae is going to be one of Mornye's best in slots. And if you don't have Lynae, the use cases of this unit in the present aren't very high. But we'll show you the other team later. But because we're going to be interacting with all these different mechanics, getting that damage bonus, and of course, making sure that our Lynae is actually on Tune Rupture mode so that Mornye can also deal her off-field damage as well, this is going to have a lot of synergies. Then we're going to have for our outro buffing, because Lynae buffs liberation damage, we're going to use a liberation damage dealer like Iuno to come in and basically take all these different bonuses, 25% amp, and then Mornye's 40% damage bonus, then take Lynae's, all of her amp and damage bonuses, and then, of course, have Iuno just come in and blow everything up. The Iuno build and the Lynae builds are going to be pretty good. This Iuno's actually, like, some would dare say illegal in terms of her investment. You'll see her hit pretty hard. And then the Lynae is just going to be on her outro set, doing some work as well. So, yeah, let's just give this team a bit of a spin, and then, of course, give our opinions on it. And we'll be walking through the Mornye rotation, talking about all those good things. But don't worry, there's not going to be anything too crazy. There's not going to be anything too wild for this one. So, when you're on field with Mornye, you just want to basic attack 3 times. Maybe you'll get hit. Then you'll do your... Oh, dearie me. Okay, so you're beginning to notice over here, Mornye can have some struggles against certain bosses. This is probably one of the only bosses that I've seen that can hit her out of the air. So, against these bosses, you might want to take some different tactics. Like, A, creating some distance, because she's got good range. Very easy to work around anything that the boss might do with the character, because you can just fly in the air. So, don't worry about that. If you thought the 3.0 enemies were annoying, you're basically like a 3.0 enemy. Alright, so as you can see over here, rotation's looking pretty good. We managed to get past all the kind of like annoying parts in the fight. And now we're just going to be blowing stuff up on Iuno. And the guy is almost dead in one rotation. And do keep this in mind, right? This guy is like, this is arrow resistant. If you right-click while you get hit in the sky, you'll dodge. Yeah, also interrupt my attack chain. And her Residence skill cast gives, like, her entire forte. So if you interrupt that, your rotation is cooked, brother, and you're going to reset anyways. Do keep that in mind. If you dodge in midair with this character, you're probably going to be resetting anyways because you interrupted your entire rotation. Just letting you know. Just letting you know. It's an arrow weakness floor. Oh, okay. Honestly, I think even if the floor was arrow resistant, it would have died in probably the same number of rotations. Oh, okay. So it was into resistance or into good arrow resistance. Let me just tell you that that team is strong enough to basically, it wouldn't matter. It would still kill everything in 2 rotations. And the reason for that is this is probably the best, if not the second best, single target team in the game. However, this team is almost unplayable in Whimpering Wastes because Iuno has pretty much no AoE at all. So do keep that in mind. This is kind of like a one-trick pony team. You won't be using it outside of Double Pawns Matrix or the Tower of Adversity. If you try this in Whimpering Wastes, you'll be like, man, this really sucks. I'm never going to do this again. And then kind of like go somewhere from there. So this is going to be a great team, naturally. But we're not unlocking the full potential of what's going on with Mornye and Lynae here. The fact of the matter when it comes to these units is that you can kind of put any DPS you want in here and it'll typically work. The reason for that is because this duo has some of the most general buffs in the game. If you look at Lynae over here, she just buffs all damage types by 24% on her liberation. That's just a buff that she has. Her outro skill gives 50% all damage amp. So she actually buffs everything that way too. And then when it comes to her Sonata set that she's on, well, she buffs attack just based off a Tomb Break boost that she boosts herself. And then if you have her weapon too, which I have, but this is completely unnecessary because you can just use Static Mist as well, she has 36% addition or 32% additional damage here. So, or like 24% additional damage there. So it's kind of like you could also use Static Mist too to give even more attack buffs. But as you can see, you have a lot of general buffs on Lynae, and then you have Mornye with her 40% additional damage and her 25% all damage amp. And so the end result is I can use a bunch of different DPS characters on this team and probably still get some decent clears. So let's just demonstrate it by using Galbrena, who doesn't have as much synergy, right, as a Iuno in this team, because Galbrena is an echo and heavy attack damage dealer. This team mainly buffs liberation. All right, just doing our rotation again. Going to go back on Lynae. Then just do our charge attack. Boom. Nice. Get a Tomb Break off. And as you can see over here, the team is still doing pretty good. Even though, right, if you do know how, like, team comps are supposed to work in this game, this is not really, like, a great team comp. And this is into fusion resistance, too. So, something to keep in mind, it probably just 2 rotates this if we don't have the resistance to work against. Because this guy does have a little bit of fusion resistance. So, it's kind of like the opposite case of the Iuno over here. Both of these teams will clear in 2 rotations. Iuno's had a bit of an advantage. Galbrena has a bit of a disadvantage. But the Iuno team is still at a baseline better. But as you can see over here, this one's not like... You'll clear pretty much all the content in the game. Oh, dear. Yeah, you just gotta watch out for that move. I was not paying. I forgot he does that. I don't even know why he does that move. It's basically like, yeah, if you're a melee character, go fuck yourself. That's what that move is. So, you gotta. I just played Iuno, okay? I could pretend that one didn't exist. That's also one of the reasons for why Iuno is such a good TOA team. Anyways, you saw that even that move is so fucked that even Mornye's inherent won't let you survive that if you're not paying attention. So, dude, that's probably the most lethal move in the game. If I'm frankly being honest, that's probably the most lethal move that we've had in the TOA. Anyways, that is how Mornye works with Lynae. And as you can see, it's a general team comp that many will consider to be a wheelchair team comp. And I think the word wheelchair team comp is probably the wrong word to use here because these guys are more like a massive steroid injection. If you give, for example, right, a 10-year-old kid a bunch of steroids, they're probably not going to be able to do that much with them. Instead, if they're like, you know, an adult, like a fully built character, it might do some work. And so you got to make sure that whoever you're putting in this third slot on this wheelchair team, they're actually like a built unit. Because otherwise, if you like try to do something like, okay, if you try to do something like this shit ain't gonna work. This is going to be fucking cooked. Because you need to make sure that you're using a character that actually deals damage in the third slot if you're going to inject all these buffs into them to do something. So for demonstration purposes, I'll show you what happens when you try to like Changli main DPS. And we'll just see what a rotation does. And again, Changli is meant to be a quick swapped character, right? If you're not going to quick swap with this unit, you might as well just not play her. However, there's going to be somebody out there that's going to be like, ooh, well, it's the wheelchair composition. Surely I'd be able to, find a way to deal damage, right? No. They have to be an actual main DPS character first if they're going to be in the wheelchair. All right, y'all ready? Okay, I don't even know where my true sight went. Okay, I'm sorry. Is Changli bugged right now? When you press space with true sight, you just jump. Anyways, it isn't a bug. Okay, then the character just feels like shit to play then. All right, great. I'm glad it's not a bug, guys. Yeah, your character just feels like shit. Congratulations. Yep, all right, it's not a bug. She just feels like shit. Okay, great. Oh, that's so much better. You're right. It's not a bug. That's so much better. She's just shit. Like, the mains of a player base sometimes, man, they say the dumbest shit. It's like, oh, yeah, here's this thing that makes the character feel like ass. Is it a bug? No, the character just feels like ass. Don't you dare talk bad about our queen. How could you say she has a bug? No, she just feels like shit. Like, that's what you guys are saying. Like, do you realize this? Yeah, it's not a bug. She just feels like trash to play. Don't you dare talk bad about her. It's a feature. Alright, as you can see, this is dog shit and it's not gonna clear. I don't even do this anymore. It got kind of close, but relatively compared to like other characters, as you can see, we're like halfway through our second rotation. It is a fusion resist floor. It maybe actually clears when there's not fusion resistance. Probably clears when there's not fusion resistance, but that's clearing at like the 2-minute mark. And the thing is, guys, like I said before, you need to make sure that it's like an act, like not Chisa. Maybe Chisa will work, but I'm thinking like you could run Augusta, right? You could run your, maybe you could actually probably run Frolova if you wanted. You could run, of course, Brant. Probably not Phoebe. Carlotta's really good. Camelia's good as well. Zhang Liao's, of course, great. There's not as many options as I would have thought, but we don't actually have that many DPS characters in the game. So, I mean, of the DPS characters that she works with, it's really only the ones with specialties, like these, right? The Jinxes with coordinated attacks, the Cartithias with arrow erosions. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, those are the guys that she doesn't work with. So, there's two DPSs that this steroid wheelchair comp doesn't work. Oh, Zani and Phoebe as well. Okay, all the Oh, the fuckhead sentinels and negative status DPSs. There you go. Yeah. Quiyuan actually works. Oh, yeah. I mean, like this is what I can just show you this. Like, Quiyuan actually works. That's the crazy fucking part. And we'll use this as another example of the wheelchair. Or really, the steroid. Is your Quiyuan S0? Yeah, he is. All right, tank that hit. Nice. All right, here we go. Okay, that's a little cancerous. Okay, well, usually this would work, but the guy just actually went into the most diseased moveset I've ever seen. So, whenever this guy does the spin, you kind of just reset. But yeah. Oh, wow, and then he did that one too. Yeah, you're kind of just not playing the game. This is one of those runs where you just don't play the game. Yeah, imagine if that happened during the Changli run. Imagine if that happened during the Changli run. Yeah, she's not doing anything. Imagine her trying to do something into that spin, brother. Imagine Changli trying to do something into that spin.
Command mode engaged. All units fired. Attack confirmed.
All right.
Hear my queries. Structure drive stay. Don't blink. You'll miss the best. Override initiative.
Quiyuan took the loss. Yeah, Quiyuan honestly took the biggest L from that one. That was definitely like not. All right, come on. Surely I can get the tomb break here, right? All right, so as you can see, right, that's what it looks like when you're able to, I guess, not be as diseased while it's going on. Yeah. So every single character that has DPS potential will work in that team unless they have some specific mechanics. Doesn't Mornye give interruption resistance? Why is Quiyuan still getting knocked? Clearly she doesn't give enough. So I don't even talk about her interruption resistance as it's like a benefit in her kit, because I don't ever see it actually doing anything, because you kind of just end up getting hit anyways. It is what it is. Happens all the time. But interruption resistance in this game is a little bit finicky. But yeah, that's going to be an example of the Mornye Lynae synergy. We're not going to use that unit anymore. And the reason why is obviously simple, right? The unit is a little bit broken. Now, let's talk about her other synergies. And this is where Mornye is basically just going to be a completely different type of character. And the example that I'm first going to show over here is just going to be her in mono fusion. Lupa is going to be the second character that Mornye becomes a must-pull for. If you have Lynae, Mornye is extremely valuable, and you should consider picking her up. And if you have Lupa as well, Mornye is, again, extremely valuable, and you should consider picking her up. And if you have Lupa and Lynae, you should probably consider picking her up, even at S0. And the reason is very simple. Mornye being a fusion character allows her to perfectly leverage the insane buffs that Lupa has. Where Lupa, on her weapon, you might have this, you might not, gives 24% fusion damage. Her set, her Sonata set, gives 15% fusion damage to the entire team. And then her kit, her ultimate, gives 20% fusion damage and up to 18% attack, though it's more like 12% if we're being real here. And then her liberation reduces fusion resistance. You combine that with the fact that Mornye's outro skill stacks, and Lupa has not been able to have a stackable outro skill in forever because hers doesn't stack, and Shorekeeper, Baizha, Verena, all those characters aren't fusion. She needs 3 fusion characters on her team to fully leverage all these buffs. And so, Mornye basically fills in like the Shorekeeper or Verena role in mono fusion. The end result is Lupa and Mornye plus a third fusion DPS absolutely fucks this game. And that's how this team is slightly better than running Galbrena or running Quiyuan and Shorekeeper. It's about 4 to 5% better than Shorekeeper and Quiyuan, and is Galbrena's new best in slot. So let's go ahead and see why this is the case. And remember, we're going to be doing this on the new floor 4 of the Hazard Zone because we don't have Toon Rupture on this team, because we don't have Lynae. And so we don't have to worry about any overly shielded shenanigans here.
All targets in sight. All units fire.
And we should be good here.
Hear my queries.
Nice. So, yeah, as you can see over here, Lupa has a very easy rotation to do if you're not quick swapping. You just get done with her, right? And then you just kind of like go onto your team and left mouse button on Galbrena and just keep left mouse button and like look. The hands are in, I'm just using my other finger. I'm not doing anything. And we just fucking ruined this guy's career. So what you just saw me do over here was skip her marker. And the reason why you skip her marker is because it doesn't actually do anything in this team. And I could just skip her marker and get a full concerto rotation because I have an R4 Discord. So that is the mechanic that I'm talking about over here. And you'll see it again at the start of this second rotation. You'll see it again at the start of this second rotation. And that is the crazy skip. The new tech that I was talking about before. All right, come on, just blow him up. All right. I just completely skipped that heavy attack, right? I didn't refresh my mark or apply it. That's because in this team, I have no toon interference effects. And so, why even use the ability if I can just skip it and still get her full concerto? Because it literally doesn't do anything outside of toon teams. And that to me is, obviously, I think that's a bit of a decision. I already have my own thoughts to share about that, right? But if it's not going to do anything in non-Lynae teams, why even use it? Right? Look at this. I just skill, right? And then I just don't even do the heavy attack. I just liberation. Oh, would you look at that? I'm at full concerto. Basically, the design of this character at S0 punishes you for, like, using abilities in her kit. Assuming, right, that you have an R4 Discord. Because if you don't, you still have to do the attack to gain concerto. Yeah, you still gotta do that interference marker attack that doesn't do anything. Sorry, I haven't even been paying attention. I've been, like, chatting because this character is so brain-dead easy to play. My bad. Yeah, so as you can see over here, that team cleared with close to, like, no effort. I'm, like, chatting on the side, talking about, like, tech and getting and busting out insane clears with literally 30-something seconds extra interacting with none of the effects. The only effect that we're interacting with, guys, is that we're slightly toon breaking faster. So we can stack up this buff that only stacks up to 3 times slightly faster, which is an advantage for sure. But every team stacks this up over the fight. Like, you get a lot of toon breaks on Crownless, especially when he has one where he jumps up, right? So even the advantage there, it's like you're getting the third toon break, like, 5 seconds faster than, like, other teams and, like, stacking up that buff. It's probably going to happen during your support's rotation anyways, too. So I wouldn't look into this too much. This is generally how the team is going to perform. And as you saw, this absolutely fucked the game. Now, let's talk about another fusion DPS that also completely ruins the game. But you got to get a little bit sweaty with them. And that's going to be Mono Fusion, where you kick out Changli. You make her homeless because she's for the streets, and you put in Mornye instead. And this team is so much stronger as long as your Brant is well built and you get disgusting results. So let's just play it a little bit. And I'll be doing some tech in here that we'll be covering briefly, but do recognize that there's a lot of potential for this team. Just attack 3 times, right? Do your transformation, great. Do keep in mind that on this fight, this like kind of like bugs out her concerto, so you kind of just, as you can see over here, my concerto's fucked. So do recognize in this fight, like, if Crownless, like, starts up in the sky, your Mornye's concerto might just be, like, cooked. But if he starts on the ground like this, you'll typically be okay. So on this first rotation, always make sure to actually do that attack. I skip it in other rotations because I have above an R4 Discord. And as you see, right, sometimes the concerto isn't really there. Now, this is where it's going to get a little bit sweaty. And this is going to be a double anchor rotation, maximizing, right, the impact of Mornye's buffs and all of that. Oh, his Tomb Break puts him in the air. And as you see, that's a lot of damage in one rotation. And then we put in the skip as well. And then we're going to land down on Lupa, deliver a massive nuke, and then just do it again. And unfortunately, you're watching me break the rotation over here. Yeah, sometimes I can, like, mess it up. But you know what I mean, right? Okay, yeah, that's a bit of a waste right there. We probably should not have anchored that guy, but that's how HP thresholds in this game work. Yeah, I just wasted a bunch of damage over there, but hey, it happens. Oh, shit, whoopsies. Oh, I didn't have enough concerto there, I think. Oh, no, we had enough. I didn't even have my full forte, and we were good to go. And here we go, boom. And as you see, right, this team, it does take like a while to get like used to the play style of it, but it is, in my opinion, one of like the most fun teams in the game because you just get to do disgusting shit like this. And boom, as you saw, with a little bit of tech here and there, you can get similar clears to a Galbrena team. So yeah, that is what Mornye does to the meta of fusion characters. You now have new best-in-slot teams for Brant and Galbrena that are among the highest performing teams in the game. Yeah, among the highest performing teams in the game. Galbrena's more comfy. Yeah, that's why I said the Brant team was sweaty like 3 times. Is there anything else you want to point out that somebody else with eyes can immediately see too? Like, what else do we want to say? Do we want to say that the Brant team has a male character on it as well? The Galbrena team is all female? What other commentary would we need to, do we need to provide here? Brant's a pirate. Galbrena has guns. Is there anything else that we need to point out here? Because, like, imagine that I see 5 messages in chat after that run that says Galbrena's comfier. No fucking shit. You literally saw me put a hand up and complete a rotation on the Galbrena team. You literally saw me play the team one-handed. Yes, I hope the team I'm playing with one hand is comfier. I'm operating at 50% utilization here. Yes. Anyways, retarded chatters are a dime a dozen, but teams like these aren't. So, as you see, Wuthering Waves has transcended, at least in the fusion element, with the release of Mornye. And this is why I'm saying that if you have Lupa, or if you have Lynae, Mornye is very close to a must pull. Because, guys, I mentioned before, one of the reasons why this team is powerful is because it just buffs every type of fusion damage. Every single type. That's why Galbrena, whose heavy and echo skill, works. That's why Galbrena, whose basic attack damage, works. Their damage type doesn't matter because you have so many just raw buffs to the fusion attribute. Who's another fusion character that's coming out? Oh, it's Amiath. And so, this is my take. You're probably, unless Amiath has the most fucked scaling on the planet. Sorry, even if her scaling is fucked, you're probably going to be able to use her in this team. Because she's a fusion character, and probably a fusion DPS. If that mech is a support, yeah, okay, sure, it's not going to be. She's probably going to be a fusion DPS. She is. And if that's the case, this is probably going to be a very stable core for her. Because unless she manages to deal fusion damage without scaling with fusion damage percent, I think she's going to be fine. And that's going to be an amazing team to slot her in. I'm hoping at the very least. This would mean she has a lot of team comps. So yeah, that's going to be the take there. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room. And the elephant in the room that we're going to be talking about, ladies and gentlemen, is unfortunately her performance outside of Lupa and outside of Lynae teams. Because I'm just going to be honest with you, it's not the best stuff ever. And the thing is, I've already tested this out in a prior video without knowledge of some of the techs that I showed you before. So let's just make this a big focus on that one tech in particular. You need, in order to do the Forte skip and greatly shorten Mornye's rotation, to do the Forte skip, you need a Discord that's at least R4 or above. Some of you might be lucky, right, and have multiple copies of Discord. I don't. I only have one R5, or I actually am lucky. I have one R5 and one R11. But if you are somebody that only has R1 or R2 or R3, you can't use this. And the only way to, like, actively get it is to, like, R4 her weapon. And this is what I mean by this tech is only available with the 4-star weapon, because most people aren't going to R4 Mornye's weapon. To get the similar level of Concerto and get the skip mechanic going, you need to generate like 14 Concerto energy on your weapon. That requires an R4 signature too. So just use Discord instead and miss the crit damage buff if this is what you're going to be doing. However, if your Mornye's S1, you don't want to skip placing your marker, and you want the longer rotation because you'll get the full damage buffs. And so this tech that we're going to be focusing on for today, it only is going to occur if you're using her outside of Lynae teams and you don't have her S1. You only have her S0. And that's going to be it. All right, so let's just... You know what? We could actually use Iuno and Augusta here for a good example. Yeah, no, Iuno Augusta is a great example of a team to use it on. Perfect example of a team to use it on. So, let's focus on that mechanic using this team. Actually, all three of these characters are actually available right now, so it might be a team that some people actually use.
Energy consumption increasing. Command mode engaged.
So, on your first rotation, you always want to use this attack. Okay, where did my... Did I unequip? I think I unequipped my weapon, didn't I? How did I only generate, like, half my Concerto there?
Power levels.
Wait, what? Was that a bug? Wait, did you guys see how much Concerto I gained there? What the fuck was that? I don't know, man. Sometimes it I think whatever that was probably a bug, because I've never seen the Concerto go that low before. Literally 50% from, like, doing her whole rotation. So, let's just see what it looks like when we, I guess, actually get it right. Okay, so as you see, okay, that's a lot better. That looks a lot better for sure. Anyways, you only do that on the first rotation. You never actually want to go ahead and repeat that attack from your second rotation onward if you're using a team that doesn't even interact with the interfered markers in the first place. The team still does a lot of damage, though, so, like, yeah. Yeah, Augusta and Iuno are just strong, so you, like, kind of probably don't need it anyways. And as you see over here, I just skipped it, right? I skipped that Forte attack this time. And would you look at that? I'm at full concerto anyways. So this is why, ladies and gentlemen, having an R4 Discord actually elevates this character. Guys, I'm gonna be honest. It's been a while since I played Augusta. Oh, yeah, no, that's probably not good. I probably wasn't supposed to miss that. I probably was not supposed to just completely whiff that, but it is what it is. We'll do another skip here. And as you see, we've got, like, basically the perfect amount of concerto to just, like, do that. And so that's why it's important.
The moon is full.
And this is a situation where when you utilize this tech to shorten Mornye's rotation, this is the situation where she's equivalent to a Verena. And unfortunately, this is the dynamic that I will talk about here. I think that if you don't do this tech, she will be worse than Verena in pretty much every situation. So use the tech. And if you're somebody that didn't pull Discord, just recognize that you'll be spending an additional second every rotation like that, charging up that attack. It's not the worst thing ever, but it's enough to make her, honestly, just worse than Verena outright. So do keep that in mind. She's got use cases as a general support, but those use cases get a lot better when you have a decent amount of investment. And by that decent amount of investment, guys, I mean you need a goddamn R4 Discord. And some people, they might have an R4 Discord, right? They might have a bunch of Discords, but there might be some people that don't have very many. But this is where I'm going to give you the final tip when it comes to this unit. And the final tip for Mornye to be able to get her up and running and potentially get some good stuff for her, guys. My tip for Mornye is to pull Augusta or Iuno's weapon, because this is one of the most valuable weapon banners possible for Mornye, because you don't actually want her SIG, but you really want copies of Discord. And so if your Augusta or Iuno really need their signature, this is potentially the best limited banner to ever pull on in the history of the game, because you will get Mornye's weapon at the same time while getting Augusta or Iuno's. And so make sure you actually want Augusta or Iuno's weapon, and then just get Mornye's on the side. And if this is something that you need, oh, this is just amazing. Right? This is just good. This is just solid. And this is going to, assuming you get a bunch of copies of it, also elevate your Mornye and give her more generalist ability. But that's the issue, ladies and gentlemen. She kind of needs a bit to work with. But if you're a day one player, you likely already have the things you need to really make her shine and really make her work. But if you're a new player, guys, if you're somebody that doesn't have a lot of units on your roster, I'm going to be honest with you. Mornye is a bait. And Mornye is a bait for one specific reason. Because if you're at the point where you don't have a lot of characters, units like these are ones you should be pulling instead. You should be pulling DPS and sub-DPS characters sooner rather than later. Because guess what? If you're missing units on your roster, Mornye is not going to help you clear more TOA floors. A Iuno or Augusta will. A DPS character will, because you already have a free Baija, right? You already have the free Verena, the free Arrow Rover. And guess who actually supports her really well? Arrow Rover. And that's one of the reasons why this is one of the best free-to-play, these are some of the best free-to-play units ever. You can literally use Arrow Rover to make this unit one of the best single-target DPSs in the game. You can just use more Tefi, a 4-star, to make this one of the best DPSs in the game. This character, you kind of need a Lynae or Lupa, and then a DPS to make this unit change things on your account. So you kind of need 2 units for this unit to do anything more than a Verena. That's what it is. That's what's kind of like mandatory. That's like her mandatory purpose. You need like 2 units to make her better than a Verena. But she's a lot better than Verena if you have those 2 units. And those 2 units are Lynae and Lupa. And that's going to be the fact of the matter here, right? unless you're going to pull Mornye's S1 and make her more of a generalist, then she's going to be very niche as a Lynae or mainly Lupa-oriented support that has incredible teams when she's with them, but performs lower than Verena or at the same level with some special investment otherwise. And is that something that you want to spend a lot of pulls on, knowing that these are two of the strongest characters in the game? Maybe, maybe not, but there's definitely a right decision to make depending on where you are in your Wuthering Waves journey. I'm just hoping that you understand the limitations of this character and don't expect her to literally change anything on your account, because she's not a unit that does that. None of my, like, I haven't had, like, units that were unviable before become viable. I haven't had units that weren't able to clear before that are suddenly able to clear. She just makes some teams slightly better. And the end result is, maybe you should wait on a rerun. But I pulled her in the modern day to be able to tell you that. So yeah, let me know what you all thought about this one. Peace out.